Hello, and welcome to Jason Cabinet Experience. I'm your host, Jason Cabinets. My name is Jason Cabinets. I host the Jason Cabinet Experience and also CEO and founder of the Cabinets HR company, where we do HR for companies before and under for your people. Our special guest today is Barbara Phillips, Executive Director of the Community Network Council, who's been one of our sponsors recently. Barbara, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited
So,
as well as nervous, but
no, this is a lot of good times. So first, I'll ask people like a softball question start off. What do you do for fun? Like, how do you keep yourself, like what are your hobbies? How do you make sure like you like take care of yourself, so to speak?
fun. So I love doing Zumba. That's usually my one of my exercise fitness routines on Saturday mornings, maybe one another day during the week. The other thing is I like going to dine out, going to symphony occasion or different plays or jazz alley.
Okay. What's the name of the other jazz club here? It's like a real famous one. I can't remember the name of it. It's like famous people go there all the time.
Jazz
That's
alley.
Jazz Alley?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I thought it was something else. Okay.
Yeah.
And how long you been doing Zumba?
How long? I've been doing Zumba for about 5 years.
It's like aerobics or something? Like what
It's
actually is
aerobics
okay.
with music and pretty active, and it depends on the instructor how active they are or high energy they
Okay.
are. So
Nice, nice. And when you say symphony, that's like orchestras and like violin, stuff like that,
yes,
like classical music, so to speak.
yeah,
Okay.
classical music.
Hey, do you know a guy named Dr. Quentin Morris? He's like this master violinist.
No, I don't.
Yeah, he's this nonprofit called Key to Change, I think, have written. Like teaches like, underprivileged like youth and stuff. I need to connect you with him. He's doing some good things too.
Oh, okay.
Um, so talk real quickly about your time as the FAA.
So when I relocated here to Seattle, I had a couple of jobs. I had my two sons with me, and that was probably the third position that I received once I relocated here from St. Louis.
Okay.
And then I was there for 27 years. I was a program assistant as well as a union rep. And so I was there during that time.
And you originally from St. Louis?
Yes,
Okay. And when did you move to Seattle?
91.
Okay. So you've been like your quote unquote Washingtonian now, so to speak. Or
Yes,
do you
very
still
much
claim,
so.
or you like, no, I still claim Texas. I've been like 15 years. Like I'll never be a Washingtonian.
I think I shifted about 5 years ago.
Okay. All right. And then you did stuff with workforce education and development. What is that?
That was my degree, my
Okay.
bachelor's degree through University of Illinois, Carbondale. Mhm.
And how did this experience help you start your nonprofit?
So, my experience starting the nonprofit was through my advocacy work for throughout the years. When I relocated here, we moved to the Kent area. They were going to Kent School District, and I started by dealing with some issues with my son and looking at some of the disparities that were happening in the schools. I had questions and no one there to answer. So one day I went to a large meeting from the district head and met Melvin Tate, and that's how I began my advocacy work in the Kent School District. And that led up to, after a number of years, creating Community Network Council.
And were you doing the FAA and community network council at the same time? Or was it like a clean break?
No, I was doing both
Okay.
once we
So
created.
you had two full-time jobs basically.
But I got after COVID, I was like, okay, it's time to put this aside. I retired and just doing CNC work.
And what year did CNC start?
Uh, we officially start in 2010.
Okay. So, I mean, you obviously you'd be retired, you'd be on the beach somewhere drinking pina coladas, but you decided to do this, right? So why have you decided to make this your life's work, so to speak?
Well, it was by choice. Like I said, I started off by advocating for my sons and working with other families in the district that had issues. And at that particular time, we had the diversity task force that parents were filing complaints against the school district, racial complaints. And so it started there and it just progressed over time. And then the need of the community is most important. And being part of you're here, you're going to school, you see the disparity, you see issues related, and I personally couldn't just walk away. I was committed to doing something about it.
And so can you define community? Like, is the Black community, the Kent community, like economic people not well off? What's that community for you?
For me, it's everyone that's part of, everyone that's a resident, live, work in the city, or that's community. Everyone that is existing, that participate, is community. And it's all about how we pull ourselves together and work together for the betterment of the community.
And so why put in Kent? Is that because that's just where you live at, or is that you probably have the most need to do what you need to do?
I just relocated to Kent, and that's where I've been.
Makes perfect sense. So y'all do a lot of great programs, right? I just want to go through them real fast. Like academic coaching, that's like your mainstay, right? Like your main
That
focus.
that's our
Can you
foundation
talk about that?
program. Yes, that's our foundation program where we mentor and improve academics for youth. We do their coaching. We work with them individually, even work with some of their teachers and improving their academics, their discipline sometimes, or their attendance. Those are the areas that we really focus on and try to give them more exposure to life in general and other opportunities that they may have not experienced, like traveling or going hiking. Just, you know,
So from your point of view, what makes an interaction with a student a successful interaction, right? Do they improve the grades a certain amount of degrees, or like they get better along with people? Like, what's your definition of success?
so when we first start working with them, they do a needs assessment, and the parents also will do a needs assessment. And so part of the academic coaching program is that we work with the students as well as the families, and we do home visits, and we want to know what their concerns are, what would they like to see improved, how, and then we decide how we're going to measure it. If a child reduces their suspensions or get in all their homework, that's a step. And sometimes you have to take the small steps to see improvements. So,
Yeah. So I asked Aubrey this question. I'm gonna see if you have the same answer.
okay.
So a lot of times kids are set up for failure because the parents aren't the best parents. Don't have the right circumstance. How do y'all deal with like when you're like if a kid's trying to do their best, you're like, man, these parents are not the best people, right? They're like doing the wrong thing, not supporting the kids. How do you deal with that situation?
Like we said, I said that they do a needs assessment, the parents, but we're able to connect with them, the parents, and to identify some of the concerns and really show them where their students or where their children are academically, socially. We identify all of those concerns and then share that information with the parents and give them suggestions on how to make improvement. So even though they may be, as you say, maybe a bad parent in the eyesight of most or some, there's still a possibility that we can strike, a connection with them and really get them in a pathway of making
Yeah, because no one's
improvements.
ever like too far gone, right?
No, I don't believe so. I think all kids can succeed
Mm.
with the right tools.
And for your coaches, I'm sure you have some kind of background check, but how do you vet your coach? Like, is there like a certain like degree they need to have, or communication skills? Like, how do you pick your coaches?
Well, we do. Most of them have degrees, but if not, it's the experience working with the community, working with students overall.
So before we move on, anything else you want to talk about as far as your academic coaching
So
program?
the academic, so there's two, so when we look at the academic coaching and I look at it as a holistic program trying to provide services, resources to our families. But we know that we're working with the students, we're working with the parents, and one of our main goals was who else is impacting our kids? And those are the teachers. And so we created the professional development and trying to educate teachers on how to work with Black youth.
So for your programs, is it like, so there's academic coaching, STEM investing, creative coding, some others. Are these all separate programs, or are they like all underneath academic coaching?
They're all under academic.
Okay, okay, got it. For other like STEM investing, creative coding, financial excellence, CNC Scholar, all this other, anyone else you want to talk about and highlight?
Uh, well,
Or you can go through each one if you want to.
okay, we'll just say the financial is we've been preparing or working with students and starting this fall working with families on financial education, empowerment, looking at life and how do they prepare for the future outside of school, but empowering families, how many really know what a credit score is, or some of the kids haven't even opened a bank account. So we're trying to empower families as well as the students. The STEM vesting ties into that by looking at investment opportunities and empowering youth and families to maybe start their own businesses, but there are all kind of opportunities. Then we have our Meals for Neighbors, where we have a feeding program that we service the community. Anyone can participate on Tuesday. That date may be changing, but we give out boxes of food. And then what else was there?
Then the professional development.
Our professional development is, like, as I mentioned, came about by the need that we need to change the culture of the schools. And the one piece of that is working with our educators, and that's where the conference come about. Our Equity Ed conference is like showcasing our work, developing coursework with experts in the field on to improve the relationship with teachers and students as well as families. And then hopefully the goal would be that school districts, or the one that I'm working in is in Kent, will look at this and say, well, really, how do we change the culture? How do we really improve academics? Because it's been 30 years since I first started advocating for kids. And the test scores for Black and brown kids are about the same over 30 years. And I feel like that's a disgrace. And I feel that we as a community should be advocating for improvement for especially Black kids.
So this kind of ties another, right? So me and Aubrey went to the event on Wednesday, right? And the keynote speaker was talking about, and I'm guessing what he said is true, and I didn't verify this or nothing, doing research, but he said there's a experiment done in 1984, right? Where they took like regular kids, right? Like they went to school, nothing special. And they took like some of those kids and gave them like tutoring, right? And of course, everyone thought, okay, kids getting tutored, they'd be like kind of smarter, right? But they were smarter by 2 deviations, right? Like twice as smart than the people no tutoring, right? But yet nothing's changed in schools, right? It's like you still do the same way. You think it'd be some kind of way to take that and like make it better. But like you said, 30 years, nothing improved, right?
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Like it has to be frustrating.
It's very frustrating, but it has to do with the system in the school districts. And we have to start looking at everything. When you select a superintendent, what are their policies and how do they really engage with the community? Because oftentimes I personally feel that sometimes when you walk in the building, that they're like, we don't want you here. I'm a Black woman. I don't want you here. And I've received that a number of times. And so we have to change that. What's the fear behind letting your Black community in the building?
Because they're part of the community, right?
They're part of the community.
They're paying property taxes, all that kind of stuff.
Right. And so you should be welcoming in the kid. If you want the test scores to improve, if you want kids to improve in their grades, if you want a successful school, then you have to welcome in all of your community, each and every one.
So this is something I don't know. Like, does each school district have their own standards, or is it like some kind of statewide, nationwide standard for all schools, or each school district gets to decide, okay, this is what you teach our kids, this is what we're gonna focus on?
There are some basic standards for the statewide, but then each district have procedures and processes they use for implement in the school district.
And that's like the school board decides that, or like voters decide that, or how's that work?
I believe it's the superintendent and the school board.
Okay, and they get elected, right?
They're elected positions.
That's another way to do something. Right?
But the community has to come together and ensure that knowing what's the what their values are,
Yeah.
what their,
But how many
their
people
beliefs
vote on
are.
elections at national level versus
Yes.
the local ones, right?
Yeah, right. But we have to change, that messaging, and we need to get the community engaged and have a voice in who's being appointed to these districts.
So I've asked
I mean,
this,
school boards,
yeah,
sorry.
I've asked it before. I'll give you an opinion, right? So like I'm a capitalist. I believe free market economy, however, like I think it's a kind of fair. I'll use like Dallas, for example, right? Dallas is a town called Highland Park, right? Multi-million dollar homes, everyone's rich, And of course, they pay a lot of property taxes, a lot of money goes to schools. Parents like volunteer a lot, everything's taken care of, right? We would take the, you know, South Dallas called it Alsaco Cliff. Not so much, right? And so there's a vast disparity. Now, I'm not saying that you should take money from Highland Park to the South Oak Cliff. I mean, you should, right? If that makes any sense, right? Any way to fix that, you think, to make that more equal or less unfair, I guess?
It's more, I'm not sure how to fix everything. I don't have all the answers, Jason, but I do know that because prior to moving here, I worked at a private school in St. Louis. And then having the community, those parents, most of them are wealthy, involved, does change the landscape and how they respond to the community. And so even though, I was there and you could see the differences, but still they had, disparity information, how they relate to Black youth. Um, but somehow there needs to be some leveraging of resources because we know that the people that vote, the people that have the funds will always get more. And somehow those districts need to be able to share the wealth within another school, or the community has to step up and advocate.
So, Bob, what's your take on standardized testing? Good thing, bad thing? I saw that on your website. Y'all doing some kind of standardized testing class or something?
I don't think I did that.
No?
I'm not sure if I have
Okay.
that. Okay,
No worries.
standardized testing.
Yeah, it was on your
Yeah.
website.
But the standardized testing, I think a lot of schools are dropping those requirements. And I think that if you're not passing your kids or you're just passing them through the system, what good are they? If you're not prep, or so some schools prep the kids for the test. And so we have to look at, how useful they are and how, if there's some discrimination or disparaging information in them that leans towards another group versus another.
So, on your bio, it says she continues to build alliances with schools, industry, and government offices to promote programming. Can you talk about how you build alliances with all these different organizations?
Um, Probably the way I do is communication, networking, and just being involved and having a voice. So you have to have a voice. You have to be able to stand up and share information or your perspective, or you have to be willing to get involved. Oftentimes, I was a single parent. I am a single parent, but my sons are grown now. But oftentimes we don't have time. It's very limited time that you have. You're working, you may be working two jobs and you're trying to raise your family. But sometimes it's just the small things or being part of collective to where you can stand up and say, oh, I can do this one piece. If it's just making 5 phone calls or showing up in an event. But we have to come together and just take baby steps to see where people are at their level and connect. And we have to connect with different groups, different communities. And then over the years, we've connected with other CBOs in the area, doing the work. And so you just have to build the relationships, and it's time consuming, and you have to have patience because different cultural groups have different beliefs, and we all have different learning styles and how we communicate. So we just have to be willing to be flexible and patient.
So how do you do this, right? Because everyone's not on your side, right? Everyone's not on your
Right.
team, right? How do you know, like when you're talking to someone, an organization, that they're really not all in for you, right? They're like kind of wasting your time. Like, are you able to like figure that out pretty fast, and so you don't waste your time with them?
Uh, Sometimes that doesn't happen till later.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, But if it's the goal in mind, if you're coming together to do some work, there's you have to buy into the goal. What are you trying to achieve? What is your outcome that you're expecting? And so if you can start there, then you're working towards something. And so, and sometimes you can work through it because we all have our differences. We're not thinking the same. And so you have to work through that.
So as a nonprofit, you have to do a lot of fundraising, I'm presuming, right?
We try.
You try. So how, like, suppose someone's listening, right? What can you tell them to convince them like to donate to Community Network Council? Why should someone like give you funding?
Why should they give us funding? Because we're an exciting, growing organization, and we have our Equity Ed conference coming up that is doing fabulous work. The one program I didn't mention was our community health worker. And so that's a program where I see some growth in and traction in looking at the disparities, especially with Black females. And there are other opportunities so we can expand our work and grow. We just need the commitment from the community as well as other partners, other funders that are interested in making change. Because we see every day on the news someone or a youth having an impact, or the crime rate with youth and the drugs. And so how do we make change? How do you really want to change the community that you live in, that impacts the area of Seattle? So it's not just Kent, because the Kent kids could go anywhere in the region. And so do we really want to make impact? Do you really want, because as I said, you're working with the students, you're working with the families. So we're working with the educators and trying to get them on board. And we have to look at the systemic racism that exists in all these schools and make change. So do you really want change in your community? Do you really want change in this area? I don't want to go out the door and feel like my life is threatened. You want a safe and secure area. And so how do we do that? Well, we have to work together. And this is some of the work that we're doing. This is why the conference. And so we can learn from each other and we can grow in that aspect and continue to make change.
So for the conference, this is the first conference you're doing, right? The first
Yes.
time. So can you tell us like why you decided to do this, the thought process, like why this year and what you want to do with it?
So as I said, we created this, I came up with this, that in order to make changes the culture in the school, you have to work with educators. And are they willing to allow a CBO, a community-based organization, to come in and share information? We have developed courses that really get to, why are you working with, how do you work with Black youth, Black boys? There are different factors that come into play, and teachers need to understand that. Parents need to understand some of these things, like their learning style, their children's learning style. But how do we how do we continue with that? But this conference will help shape that on the different workshops that we have, that we'll be hosting. Our speakers, all of those pieces work together and will help the community, help the educators, the teachers, the schools, the school system learn and grow from that.
And then like you have a lot of great speakers, presenters. Can you talk about how you went about picking them? Because there's a lot of great people in this, category you can pick from.
Mhm.
Like how do you decide like who to use, so to speak?
Okay. First of all, I have to step back and say that I partnered with Dr. Eddie Moore a few years ago when when I was first developing the courses. And he was co-author of the Guide for White Women Who Teach Black Boys. And that was the first course that we developed. Um, it was supported by Seattle University, and we were holding sessions throughout the Kent School District at that particular time. Since then, and the support from King County, racism is a public health crisis. We receive funding. We have developed other courses, not only with Dr. Moore and other experts in the field on how do we share this information, develop the courses. So we have brilliant Black teaching, brilliant Black girls. We have racism in the classroom. We have a couple of Black studies courses, the N word, and it's one or two others. And so all of these courses are intended for educators, and you have experts in the field will come into the classroom, share this information, and really listen, but it's able to get the feedback, immediate feedback, suggestions that you may have, concerns. We can answer those. We can respond quickly. And we're in the community. And how do you protect and service and support an organization that wants to support the educators?
And so, of all these speakers, is this one you're like really excited to hear talk?
Excited about all of them, Jason. Come on.
I'm sure you are.
But Dr. Joy, Joy DeGrew, I'm excited about her because each of them brings something different and offer a wealth of information, a wealth of learning. It's not just for educators, if it's for the community as well, it's for parents. The learning is there, and we all need to learn and make changes and try to make changes in our community. But if we're not working together and listening and gaining this information, then we just stand still.
And people attend, they get some, I think it's called a CEU credit or something like that.
Yes.
Can you explain what that is? And what's the
Yeah.
benefit? Like, why is that such a good thing?
Well, it's a continuing ed credit through University of Washington, Tacoma. It's just credit that will be added to their grades, or not grades, I shouldn't say that necessarily, but their school learning if they need to. So it'll be offered. We were trying for the clock hours. That won't be approved until later, maybe this year. But this is the start.
And so, what's your like for you? Let's say it's October 4th, everything's over with, conference over with. In your mind, what's had to have happened for you to be okay? This was a success.
I think it's a success. We're starting off as a success because this is our first conference. This is our first trying to pull all the information together. We have people that have registered for the conference, and it's a starting point to see where it goes, the growth in it, and the excitement behind it. And so, trying to get the staff behind it and have an understanding of it, and the community. But we're a CBO. We're a small grassroots organization that started with 3 people coming together. So we have grown over the years from my advocacy work to where I am working a full-time job, having 2 kids, and building CNC.
So it's safe to say you're really proud of what you built with CNC so far.
Pardon?
Safe to say you're really proud of what you built with CNC so far.
Proud of it. I think we've survived. We've survived so many challenges and the direction that we've gone and the growth, and to have the staff that we do. So yes, I'm proud of it. But I'm looking forward to the future now.
Yes. So what's your long-term vision for Community Network Council? You like expand like all of Seattle, or like you want to like bring on more programs, impact more kids?
Long term, I would say that I would love to see our professional development expand throughout Seattle. It could expand throughout the country. The other thing I would really love to see is we're building our travel program where we give students and families an opportunity to go to Africa, take trips, venture out, change the country. The world is global. And we need to be moving our students in that direction. We have to change their paradigm. They're going to interact with other people from other countries all over the world. And Black students, especially Black students, need to have that exposure. I would like to build a program where they can get offered credit, school credit, high school students, if we're able to succeed in taking them on a trip or venturing out. But we need to change that mindset. It's global, and we know that already. And so I would like to see that happen. The other part is the financial literacy. All of our programs really look at the families and how it's being impacted. How do we really engage with them? How do we increase their learning, increase their engagement? Do they want to make changes, or do they just want to if they just want to improve their condition where they are? There are opportunities there, and we look for opportunities to improve their well-being.
So after someone attends a conference, what do you want them to know about Community Network Council and the people that work at Community Network Council?
From their experience, I would love for them to know that's an organization I want to support. That's an organization I would like to volunteer at. That's an organization I like to go into the elementary schools and work with the youth there. And although I emphasize Black youth, we work with all youth of color or just anyone that wants to show up.
Hey, so I actually have a question on the live if you want to answer it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, it changed. Okay. Okay. Okay, how much of the equity ed focuses on maximizing making good decisions at the individual positive option makes sense. That's me. Who determines what good decisions are?
I mean, that's part of your answer, right? I don't know. Yeah.
Who determines what good decisions are? So it says, how much of the equity ed focuses on maximizing making good decisions at the individual level when positive options exist, thus reducing negative consequences of a poor individual decisions that compound a positive path for a positive and successful.
Yeah, then it cut off. Yeah.
It cut off
Yep.
there, yeah. So I can't say what the good decisions are because I don't know the circumstances behind it, behind that question. And that's an individual perspective as I see it. Because we don't know what the circumstances are. We don't know what each person have to look at themselves and make a decision, whether it's right or wrong, and live up to the consequences, whether positive or negative.
So let's suppose, make this up. Someone has made 5 bad decisions in a row, right?
Mhm.
How do you influence them to make a good decision the 6th time? Or since they made so many bad decisions, they're just like prone to continue making bad decisions. Like, how do you make the bad decision making cycle, so to speak?
Well, the only thing I could suggest is that the learning that comes from making bad choices. And so each individual have to make their own decision and be accountable for that and responsible. And so the one thing I could suggest is that you have to take the time to learn from your mistakes. Are you going to make changes in your life or don't? You have to be responsible. The individual is accountable. And so I can't really say, how do you make person make good decision? That's left up to them and their choices that they make in their lives.
Nice. So on October 1st, you're having a dinner to kick off the conference, right?
Yes.
At I believe it's the Northwest African American Museum.
Yes.
Can you talk about that real fast, please?
That is focused on a discussion on race and equity related to our youth. And how do we really how do we come together and have a discussion on what is going to improve the circumstances of our youth in the community? And so we just want to have a conversation regarding those topics. Then how do you look at things differently? Are you really engaged or learning from maybe your peer at your workplace? Or you have to start engaging with people different from you. And then we have a follow-up breakfast on that Thursday, because there will be some assignments afterwards, and really start dealing with some issues related to race.
Why do you think it's so hard for so many people to think differently, right? Like so many of us, like, have the sheep mentality. We go along to get along. Whatever you hear on TV, you follow. Why do you think it's so hard that people, like, think outside the box, so to speak, like, and think differently? Is it just because it's like too hard, or?
I don't know. I mean, for each person, it's different. And then maybe they haven't had the opportunity to engage with someone that may be different than them. We don't know. Um, I've always been one to be open to controversy, maybe have a little back and forth. In my workplace, we've had changes. And so, but you have to have a willingness to make change, to have that discussion.
So kind of off topic, kind of on topic. Can you talk about what y'all serving for dinner that night? Are y'all going to have a really good restaurant doing the food, right? That might entice the people to sign up, because the restaurant y'all have coming is like really good.
What's the
It wasn't Taste of Caribbean or something like that?
Taste of Caribbean,
Yeah.
that's who we have. We have not selected the menu. We're working on the menu selection right now, the Taste of Caribbean.
Okay.
And then the other conference piece is at the Hilton. So
And for the dinner, the presenter is Joshua B. Barr.
Joshua Barr.
Is he like the head of Human Rights Council or something like that at Des Moines?
No, he comes from out of state. He comes from North Carolina.
North Carolina?
Yeah,
Why do I
he's
think
an
it- why-
attorney.
Why do I think it was in Des Moines for?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But he's an attorney. He's done these in-depth conversations before. He's won an Emmy for that.
Yeah.
And so he has experience and knowledge related to these.
And so how did you find him? Just part of your network? Someone recommended him?
So I'm working with Dr. Eddie Moore
Okay.
with American Moore, and we've built this relationship for the past 4 or 5 years, working together, communicating, just networking. And he's been supporting CNC during this time.
And so, like, when you're picking the speakers, like how much do you like, okay, you're an expert in your field, I trust you. And how much, like, okay, I trust you, but still, like, verify, right? I still need for you to, like, give me a speaking sample or give me some proof, right? How do you balance that,
Well, each of them, I've seen them online or in person. I met Dr. Joy was here earlier this year. We had a conversation, as well as I've seen her work and then her material. Dr. Stanford, Dr. Ben Danielson. We have Jessica Care Moore, who's a poet, that will be there. I've seen her, met her in person. So I've been in contact with each of them.
And some of them just finished writing books, right? And the books will be available for
Yes.
signing or buying at the conference, right?
Right. Sure.
Okay. Kind of change the subject. Let's suppose someone like has this passion they're really passionate about, right? Whatever it is. They want to start a nonprofit. What advice do you have for them as far as like starting a nonprofit?
Make sure you're really committed to the cause, okay? Because it is not an easy task. You have to have commitment, first and foremost. Then you have to have, I would say, business knowledge. You have to get experts in your field to do the work. It's a task getting the right staff and setting up your infrastructure for a business. And so it takes time and it's labor intensive, and you just have to be committed to doing the work. Sometimes the road is a little bit easier than others. It just depends on what your focus is, what you're driven to do. And it makes a world of difference.
So it is Equity Ed 2024 Anti-Racist Education Conference. Did like this come to you like a light bulb moment, or you went through like several different variations of that?
We did.
Okay.
It wasn't just a one shot, no.
Okay.
And I'm not the one making all the decisions. So I have a team of people. It's about 5 of us that come together and discuss it. And we went through several iterations. Matter of fact, the name, the Equity Ed and the Anti-Racist Education Conference title was a list of, we had about 20 or 30 topics or how we were going to phrase it. And it took several months to come up with it. So that's where we are. We all agreed to it and we're just moving forward with it.
And so I'm presuming you're going to do this again next year. Will it be a different title for the conference next year? Or are you going to focus on this every year?
No, we're going to have the same title. It'll be, instead of Equity Ed 24, it will be Equity Ed 2025. And we're moving forward with it until if something comes up, we need to change our minds. But at this point, we're agreeing to stick with it.
So can you talk about, I asked Aubrey this too. Is there like one student you're really proud of, like one student maybe came from like very bad circumstances and now he's very successful, or like one student like you're like, okay, at whatever else I did in the CNC, this one person was worth it, right? I touched this one person's life.
So we'll be showcasing one student there. His mom signed him up, and she was a little hesitant. She didn't know if he was going to be willing to participate. And she brought him into a session. We had our cultural identity courses. He came in for the session and he stayed. She says it in the film about how he remained there and that how he connected with the staff. And it was a young Black man, African-American male. And we followed him from about sixth or seventh grade, and he graduated last year. We were able to help him in his future. He's in the aerospace field now and studying. Unfortunately, his mom recently passed. And so, but just him restructuring, doing his homework and the challenges that he had that will be highlighted at the conference. But he had a number of different challenges that had to be overcome. And he just excelled. And he went through a program so he can work at this company, and they recognized him for his effort. And so I'm very proud of that. But there's other kids. They had a student that had like 20-some absenteeism.
Sounds like me. That's my school background. That's me. I could have used your program back in the day.
And then all kind of his homework was missing. And so just getting him to do his homework, to have time management, to sit down and say, why are you late for school every day or not showing up and being accountable?
You did the homework right here. I mean, they turned it in.
That's part. A number of kids have that issue. And then having them and checking in with their parents, because the parents were unaware. And then to change that direction, it's a great impact. You know, we have some kids that have graduated and then come back and say, you know, if it wasn't for CNC, I wouldn't have been successful. I wouldn't have graduated. We have students that we've identified, our program manager, expert in counseling, and identified that they needed help, mental health assistance, you know, needed to be tested, needed to go and find out what their shortcomings were and challenges. And so they needed to be tested. And once that happened, they changed their life story.
Is there an age limit for someone to join the program? Like can someone be like 23 and join, or is there an age limit?
No, we really start with youth. The youngest would be third grade, go up to high school, but we continue to work with the students after they graduated. The young man I was speaking of, he's graduated, and we still are in contact with him.
And the program only for younger men or also females?
It's for male or female.
Okay, anyone, okay. But it's predominantly males right now in the program?
No, it's mixed.
Pretty good mix, okay.
Yeah, we have quite a few girls too.
Okay. And how do they get to the pro? Do they come to your headquarters to do the program, or the coaches go to their house or school? How's that work as far as like meeting up?
So some of both. So mainly we work with the kids in the schools. However, we do have a couple of students that are not in the Kent School District that we work with individually versus going on Zoom or meeting them at their homes. We do home visits. We go to their homes, meet with the parents at least once a month. And sometimes parents don't want us in the home. So we agreed to another location at a Starbucks.
Well, not to cut you off, but when they say they want you in the home, that's like a kind of red flag for you, like maybe something's going wrong in the home, or maybe they're too embarrassed to let someone in the home because they're like,
It could be both
or
of
okay,
those or others. It could
okay,
other ideas. So they just don't want you in their homes, but they agreed to meet with you. And so it may be McDonald's, maybe a Starbucks, and we just meet with them and go over the information.
And how do you decide like what school district to go to approach, right? Like how do you decide the next school district you want to go to, right? Is it based on like their
We're open to any school district. Just let us know.
okay?
We started off in Kent, and we're open to go to other school districts, but there has to be a willingness there for us to come in.
Is there like an optimal school district for you? Like, like they have to have like a certain test scores or certain like
No,
anything like that? Okay.
no, nothing at all. We've taken some really challenging situations and made a difference.
Okay. So next, the other day you're talking about y'all doing these courses for like to teach at the University of Washington, Tacoma. Can you talk about that? These courses you're developing? Like
The courses, we're in the process of working with the University of Tacoma and deciding how we want to offer the courses that we've developed. So that's just in a planning phase. We're just coordinating with them.
and I know you said they're like train the trainer, like they teach people in person. Like who would be like the audience for these classes, right? Like high school students, teachers,
They're educators, they're
educators. Okay.
teachers mainly, but I wanted to be open to, it could be students, to other businesses also that need to want to learn. Because if you're in the medical field or you're going to deal with people of color, you're going to deal with Black families. I think it should be open to anyone that are interested.
So how hard or easy is it to develop a course? I'm guessing that's be pretty academically challenged. I'm guessing, right?
Well, it can be, yes. It's time intensive. Understanding what book you're using, or we usually have a reference book. And then it's a little labor intensive. If your background is in that subject area, it makes it more informative, but you would have to do analysis of the book and the material and what you really want to offer and get out of it.
And for the course, I suppose you make up this course, or not make it up. That's a better word. Like you come up with a course, right? Like does someone else have to certify it? Like some like educator or some school say this is actual like the real deal?
We have gone through the districts and have it
Okay.
approved. Mhm.
And could you like do this course like say in Texas, North Carolina, or that'd be like a whole different approval process?
Well, it depends on their approval process, yes, but we can offer it. We can offer it in the conference if we choose to, but it wouldn't be the samples that we be providing at the conference are only in a workshop. It's only 90 minutes. And so it's just a small portion of what will be offered in a class.
Okay, next, you're also doing a sneaker ball, correct?
Oh, yes.
And that's the same night as
As the first day of the conference,
okay.
which is October 2nd.
Can you talk about that?
The sneaker ball is just a time after the conference is just to kind of relax, network with people. We're asking you to wear your sneakers and bring a pair to donate. We're offering, we'll be donating it to a organization. And so it's just a time to get together and talk about it and talk about what you've learned, what you've engaged, how do I change, how do I make changes? It's just an opportunity to connect with people.
Is the audience for the dinner at the African American Museum, is that audience the same as like the conference?
It will be the same.
Same
Yeah.
audience, okay.
I mean, but anyone that attends the dinner can attend the conference as
Okay.
well. Yes.
Okay. So what's some lessons learned you had from putting on this event, right? Like what's something you would like do, like maybe do differently sooner?
Start a little sooner, but since this is my first conference, I've done other events, putting on a dinner one night is so much different than putting on a plan for a conference. I've attended a number of different conferences over years, but it is, you start sooner and then, but doing this the first time, you create a template for everything that needs to be done. And so instead of things popping up, you're better prepared.
So I know. I believe the first night, the first day of the conference, you're gonna give like a kind of like a welcome speech. You know, kind of like this is CNC. After that speech, what do you want people to get taken from that speech that you're gonna give?
Oh, that's a different question, Jason. Um, the dinner. So I would think that we're here, why we're here, all to connect, all to make improvements in in our community, and all to help our youth. And we're here to start that conversation and to continue.
So you talk about before, like a lot of stats have not changed in 30, 40 years. Like people like you doing great work, but it's not like some things never change, right? You think it's just flaw in the system? People don't want to change. Like, do you ever feel like you just like beating your head against the wall, so to speak, right? Like you're doing this great work and nothing changes sometimes, like, or you just like or you just keep it as a motivator to keep on going and doing the great work you're doing.
So, yes, I feel like that sometimes. But the good thing is that when you see an individual, a child change, that's your motivation. That's where you want to see. If you can see a student graduate or make improvements academically, that's a motivator. The data doesn't change, but we need to get down to the root causes of the data. We need to look at these districts and see what the makeup of the leadership, who's in the class. How come we can't have more diverse staff? What are you doing to support teachers of color and really retain them throughout? And so sometimes, even though we're bumping our heads against the wall, but seeing the baby steps and seeing children succeed and improve will make a difference.
So do you think the data like stays the same regardless? Like I'm making this up. Like the Kenton data stays the same, Federal Aviation stays the same, or do you think there's like they move up and down the spectrum, so to speak?
I mean, if it depends on the district, and I'm sure that some districts have seen their data change, and but for the most part, Kent hasn't changed over the years.
And don't answer if you don't want to, right? But it's like this is my perspective. In education, there's a lot of like teachers who maybe been there like maybe one day too long, right? Maybe their
Yes.
methods are back in the 1980s. They do the same things, you know. And obviously, you don't want to tell someone, hey, you got to quit or retire, right? But like, how do you like influence them, like, you know, get updated teaching methods, or maybe, hey, maybe you teach half day, let the new people come in, you know? I mean, I know it might be sound like a bad question, but
All I could say is that the teacher union is powerful, and they protect
I've heard that before, yeah.
and they protect their own. But there are steps that can be done to remove or encourage teachers to move on. But you have to have a leader that is willing to stand up and do those things.
And is there like good like what I'm looking for? Is there preferred like teacher student ratio? I always feel like you should have like one teacher for 20 students. Does that really matter?
Um, well, of course, I think it matters. I'm not sure exactly what the number is right now, but it does matter. The smaller the classroom size, the more individual times teachers have with students, it does make a difference.
And this is like there's some school districts out there like they have like all these admin staff, right? Like, do these extra admin staff actually add value to the teaching the kids? You know?
Well, I'm not saying, I won't say everyone, but there are tendencies with admin staff not to be as welcoming, not to really, for as parents coming in. How do you address someone when they come in? How do you look at them? Do you come in with a smile on your, I mean, we come in and are you smiling or are you just like, you have a frown and you're just
Yeah.
like, what do you want?
Yeah.
It makes a
That's horrible
difference.
customer service, right?
That's exactly right. And they need to change, we need to look at improving our greetings, our opening and welcoming of families into the schools.
Has this ever happened? Hopefully it hasn't. Like we had a student and you knew the student was making progress and you know you could help the student out, but for whatever reason, the parents like put them out of the program.
Well, it may have happened.
Okay.
Okay. Or most of the time is something where they relocate.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. they transition out, they relocate, you know, because Kent is like moving up to one of the higher, more expensive areas in King County. And so you have people relocating or migrating south.
Can you talk about some of the good things about working with the Kent Independent School District?
With Kent,
Yeah, what's been
the
like
good-
some good things?
when we first started, I had a wonderful principal that was very engaging, supported the program, and she's been very supportive over the years. And she's on our board now. You'll see her at the conference. And it's wonderful when you can find someone that really gets it, that understands the challenges for Black youth. It's wonderful when they welcome you into the building. I've had a couple, it's not just her, it's been a couple of principals that we have wonderful relationships with. They're able to communicate with you and share what their their goals are and how do we work together to make an improvement.
So what does a board of a nonprofit do? They actually like provide oversight, or this like placeholders? Like what should a board actually do at a
They
nonprofit?
should have oversight. They need to be, they should be engaged in the work, understand the work that you're doing, what you're performing, and the direction you want the organization to go, and help fundraise and support the organization overall.
And they get elected by someone, or someone appoints them? Like how does someone become a board member at CNC?
They have to fill out an application and say why they're interested. Then the board would determine the need and locate a need and the position that they would be in, and they would vote on them.
So I'm totally making this up, but like, suppose someone gives you a certain amount of money, do they automatically get a place on the board, or that's two
No,
separate things?
no, that's two
Okay.
separate things.
Okay.
Mm.
What if someone says, I'll give you this big amount, but I won't be on the board?
You want to be on the
Yeah.
board?
Got to
Well,
go through the same process.
they would go through the
After,
same
after,
process.
after your check cashes, sir. After your check cashes.
Yes, but if someone wanted to have, they could have a not the, they could have a position, and it would be, I can't think of the name of what I would call it, but it would be a secondary role.
Okay.
And if they wanted to have input, you know, a voice in the organization and direction, that's fine.
Yeah. So you already talked about the sun, but can you go more details, like how CNC got started, your focus now, and the vision for the future?
I think I shared that with how we started with my advocacy role, and then it was myself and I think it's three others, and we came together and we debated for a number of days on the name of the organization and the work that we're going to be doing. There are other programs that we had that doesn't, one in particular program that doesn't exist right now, that was our first. It was our Pastor Ride Along program, and it was our first MOU with the City of Kent Police Department. Um, but it became a little bit too challenging for us, and we decided that we would focus on education, focus on youth, and build the support network for them, youth and their families. We've always worked with not just the student, but the youth, with their parents. And so that was always a connection. We also, that was the starting point, and trying to find resources for them. And then throughout the years, we narrowed, we really refined our focus on Black youth because the data was really, it was really disappointing on where they were academically and test scores. And so that was a change, but it did not come easily. It was a debate that happened because the board was, it wasn't just all Black people. Okay, we've never been just a one race board. It's always been a very diverse board and workforce work team that we have. And so, but the data was clear that there needed to be more instruction, more intentional work towards Black youth. And so we started there. We moved in that direction, and my hope is that this last part with the professional development, that it really starts changing the culture inside of schools and getting better understanding with having relationships with our teachers and leaders in the schools to improve academics. So that's the long-term goal.
And so with all the events you have going on, like the dinner, the sneaker ball, Equity conference, like how do you make sure, like as far as like customer experience, right? Like how you make sure the speakers have a good experience, your employees have a good experience, the attendees have experience. Although they're all gonna have, to me, they're all gonna have different expectations, right?
Yes.
How do you make sure you manage those and make sure they have like the best experience possible?
Well, we have someone that will focus on working with the speakers directly, and engaging them, and then and being there for their, to accept or whatever the challenges may be, whatever may come up during the conference. Also, we'll have I'll just call it our war room, our room where we can just sit back and talk and then feast and really discuss the next day and what do we need to do next. So we'll just have that gathering spot for the team to come together and decide and talk through everything. But and the team needs to be the volunteers, everyone will have a basic training for them and some suggestions and get them, they know the schedule, they know the different activities, expectations. So we just want everybody to be prepared and have a good time.
And then how do you like day to day, like example Monday, how do you make sure, like I'm sure you have like 100 things you need to do, right? How do you make sure you do things 1 and 2 versus number 81 on the list? Like how do you make sure you focus on the priorities you need to focus on?
It's the priority, it's the deadline, is what needs to be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
And then like as far as like taking care of yourself, do you like work 80-hour weeks? Do you like, take vacations? Like how do you do that?
Don't count the time. We have the basic time because, as you know, I may get up at 1 o'clock in the morning sending out emails.
Yeah,
So,
yes, I know. Yes, I know. Yeah.
so I don't really count the time, but I do take vacations.
Okay.
I do take time off, and just to relax and re-energize myself. So
And
have to
you're a
do that.
wine drinker too, right?
A what?
A wine drinker?
I'm a wine. I do like wine.
You have like a favorite one? Like
No, I like a Riesling.
okay, the
Uh-huh.
German one, right?
A
German.
German,
Yeah,
yes, I do like a German Riesling. So
those are
yes,
pretty good. Yeah, I definitely think that's an underrated wine. Yeah, I definitely think it's underrated. Yeah,
yes, I have tried those.
yeah. Do you have any advice or wisdom you want to give people before we get out of here? Or anything
Um,
you want to talk about?
Now that's unexpected too. Let's just say that CNC has been around for a long time, and we've gone through the hills and valleys and struggles, and we always have survived and continue to thrive. And that's the most important thing, is to thrive. And that we are seeing each other. Um, Me coming here today shows that I'm excited about the organization and that there's a willingness to accept people that are interested in volunteering or working with us in some capacity, but also to know that we're here to build community and that we all, what was the old saying about it takes a village to raise a kid? So we need to look at who's in the village and let's come together and work together.
So, Barbara, is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't, or anything I
Well, you
should don't talk
covered
about?
quite a bit, Jason. Okay. No, I don't think so at this point, but I'm very grateful to be here. This is my first podcast. It has been a learning experience. I'll be prepared. I'm ready.
Yeah, definitely come back on.
Yes.
So the dinner's October 1st,
Yes.
5 p.m. at the African American
American
Museum.
Museum.
And then the conference starts at 8 a.m. at the SeaTac Hilton,
And yes.
October 2nd, October 3rd. That goes like 8 to 5 every day, correct?
Yes.
With like, of course, breaks and lunch, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Breaks and lunch included. Yeah.
And then the sneaker ball is October 2nd.
Mhm.
And where's the sneaker ball at again?
It's at the hotel.
Hotel, okay,
It's
okay,
still at the hotel.
okay,
And then we have the breakfast on October 3rd for the individuals that attend the breaking bread, the dinner,
okay.
to come back together.
So you talk about homework for the people attending the breaking bread dinner, like, th-
We don't want to look at it necessarily as direct
I mean,
homework,
like,
but
you know, something to do
right.
when they do it, they get some kind of benefit, like a education class or education credit, or just
It's just the learning.
just make themselves better, so to speak.
Yes,
Okay,
it's the engagement and learning.
okay.
Mhm.
Um, so let's suppose you were made like head of the Department of Education, some big wig dip part. You do anything you want to. What's like something you would do like to make the education system in America better?
Wow. So you know that the government is a bureaucracy. So it'd be, yeah, just trying to get something done would be a challenge in
Yeah,
itself.
but you're all powerful,
I'm an all powerful.
Secretary of Education. Your word is bond, so to
My
speak.
word is bond.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do
If
whatever
you
I
say
want.
they make it, they have to make
They
it happen.
happen. Yes, I would evaluate every superintendent in each of the school districts in the country. I would look at all their data and see who's working and who's not. And the teachers that don't need to be there, I would get rid of. But then I would set some standards in place that you have to account for each of the areas of the country because the US is so diverse. And so there is many things that you would account for and look at to make changes. But I would start that the superintendents and the staff are really crucial in looking at their data. Um, I'm not sure how much more I could take on, but
That's enough right there, I say. So for superintendents, can anyone like run for superintendent? Like me, I'm obviously not qualified to be superintendent, right? Could I run as a
no,
superintendent?
that's a selection
Like,
process. You
okay,
have to apply for the position
okay,
once it's open. Yes.
okay. All right,
Mhm.
cool. All right. Hey, bro, this is a lot of fun. I could keep on going forever, but I know you want to like keep it to an hour this first time.
Yes. Okay. Oh, this first time.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Um, any last words? Anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here?
No, thank you for having me. Looking
Yes.
forward to it.
Yes.
Working with you. Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you for your time as well. And remember to be great every day.